And thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Let me welcome you to the signature show. My name is Nwabo Zinchoko. In this edition of the program, murder of a Nigerian army general in Abuja and the kidnap of his wife. Southern governors and their separatist behavior. How correct is Senator Abdullahi Adamu? Celebrating an incorruptible judge, industrial court rolls out the drums, plus national legislators, PIB and Electoral Act, signs of what is wrong with Nigeria, a loaded package. Just stay with us. Now, on Thursday night, gunmen killed former Provost Marshal of Nigerian Army, Major General Hassan Ahmed. General Ahmed was murdered in Abaji area of the Federal Capital Territory on his way from Okene in Kogi State. His driver, who was also shot, pretended to have died to save his life, but his wife was kidnapped. Major General Hassan Ahmed had just been appointed as a director at the Nigerian Army headquarters in Abuja before he was murdered. Now, if these kidnappers and bandits have become so audacious as to accost and murder a Nigerian military officer in the Federal Capital Territory, then the reality of Nigeria's insecurity, that no one is safe anywhere, must dawn on Nigeria's leaders, isn't it? Meanwhile, former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, was reported 2 weeks ago to have described certain governors as behaving like separatists. What was the governor's offense? The southern governors had held 2 meetings, one in Asaba Delta State and another in Lagos. Now, those meetings, the governors took 2 significant decisions, among others. First, they resolved to ban open grazing in the southern states, and then resolved that the presidency should return to the South in 2023. Distinguished Senator Abdullahi Adamu was reported to have adjudged the governors to have behaved like IPOB and Oduduwa Nation Movement in banning open grazing, and the Meeti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, a Fulani pressure group, has also threatened that there be no peace in the South if open grazing is banned. But what does the Constitution say? Southern governors, Adamu, and the Constitution is the focus of our special report this Sunday. Stay with us.
In the past 1 month, Southern governors in Nigeria, except the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, have held 2 meetings. One of the most significant decisions reached at the end of their first meeting, which took place in Asaba Delta State, was their resolve to prevail on their legislative arms of government to enact laws banning open grazing in their states.
The meeting resolved that open grazing of cattle be banned across southern Nigeria.
In their second meeting, which held in Lagos, the southern governors resolved that the presidency of the Nigerian nation should return to the South in 2023 after President Muhammadu Buhari, a northern candidate, would have been in office for 8 years.
Fairness and unanimously agreed that the presidency of Nigeria be rotated between southern and northern Nigeria, and resolved that the next president of Nigeria should emerge from the south.
The resolution have been subject of intense and scathing criticism by a number of northern politicians and interest groups. 2 of such criticisms have stood out as presenting a mainstream northern disposition. The first is the position of the Northern Elders Forum, which seems to enjoy the sympathy of the present Buhari administration. The Northern Elders are canvassing for merit as the basis of determining Nigeria's next president. The position is supported by the Constitution, which does not provide for any regional or rotational consideration in the choice of Nigeria's president.
No constitution that binded us together that we must do it like this. It is a democracy.
The former governor of Nasarawa State, a ranking Nigerian senator, Abdullahi Adamu, has been reported as saying that the southern governors were behaving like separatists in respect of their position on banning of open grazing. The Fulani pressure group, Meeti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, has also been reported as warning that there will be no peace in the southern states if open grazing is not allowed. However, Chapter 1, Part 2, Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution provides that the House of Assembly of a state shall have power to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of the state, or any part thereof. That position clearly shows that the southern governors asking their state legislatures to enact laws banning open grazing seems to be acting within the provision of the Constitution. However, the governors have no constitutional backing for their demand that the next president must come from the south. But has there been a precedent to this argument, and has Nigeria respected this argument in its choice of previous presidents?
For certain governors to ask for the zoning of presidency to the south is their right.
A southerner should also produce the next president so that that part of the country, that region, will also have a sense of belonging.
In all this, however, what is evident is that the current debate, especially as it concerns the presidency, is both a debate for equity and fair play, as well as the preoccupation of the political class as they seek power. What concerns the ordinary Nigerian is good governance, which has eluded the country for too long and kept the nation underdeveloped and left its people poor, hungry, and open to the manipulation of those seeking power in their own interest.
Even the type of the candidate that want to present is very, very important. You will look at the candidate who must have the capacity and capability.
Whatever be the indices, we should do equality. Whatever be the indices, should be fair. Justice should be.
The debate on the next president and the issue of open grazing should, however, remain sincere and open without any clandestine agenda. That way, whatever consensus the nation arrives at, the people's interest and the national stability will be served. Chibueze Obi for Signature Show.
Last week, the National Assembly worked to pass two bills that have generated so much interest in the polity: the Petroleum Industry Bill and the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The Senate managed to pass the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, including the provision for electronic transmission of results. This clause was, however, subjected to the clearance of the National Communications Commission because the Commission now has to certify that such transmission is feasible. In the House of Representatives, however, it was outright chaos. The Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Wase, who presided, passed the version of the bill that did not provide for electronic transmission of results against the express position of majority of members. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill and other issues in the polity are the focus of our special interview this Sunday. Our guest, Senator Shehu Sani of Kaduna State. Stay with us.
This is signature.tv.org. Breaking the news. Following the news. Analyzing the news. 247 round the clock. All on the go. signature.tv.org. News in your pocket.
Officer of the law.
Banka or worker. I mean, they give 100 naira. Go they tip the money. If I say I'm go come out to head.
If I see person wey eat pension money, I go carry my check for am.
Let me welcome you to the conversation segment of the Signature Show this Sunday. My guest this afternoon, Senator Shehu Sani. Distinguished Senator, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Can we begin from the smaller matter before we move into what the President said? The Electoral Act Amendment Bill. electronic transmission of results, then establishment of election tribunal, election offences tribunal, then the matter of the threshold, how much money can spend, plus INEC reviewing its own announced results if it thinks result was announced in circumstances that are not democratic and fair. What's your take on this Electoral Act Amendment Bill? I put so many things together.
Amending the Electoral Act is crucial and important for a number of reasons. We cannot have a free, fair, credible, and transparent election with a defective electoral law that aids and abets rigging of elections and that is also manipulated by those with interest to achieve their own personal objectives by breaching the law and also making nonsense of election result. So it has been on for a very long time. There are, I can say, syndicated civil society groups that dedicated themselves to pressurizing the National Assembly in the last 1 decade and a half to at least amend these laws so that all the loopholes, the lacunas, can be blocked. And then we can have leaders that we truly elect, and we can also have an independent electoral empire that is above reproach. And one of the observations that have been made was the fault lines and the cracks that made it possible for politicians and also officials of INEC to undermine the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections. Electoral financing is one issue. Politicians and political parties have massively used money to buy votes and to change the course of electoral direction, to compromise electoral officials, and also to completely capitalize or monetize or materialize the whole electoral system. And product of an electoral system that has been materialized and commercialized cannot be said to be a product of the people. It is more of a product of an industry that we have just experienced. So it's one issue. Secondly is the issue of electoral offenses. There are instances over the years whereby politicians use thugs to destroy the electoral process. They also purchase those in charge of the electoral material to their own side, literally, to manipulate figures. And in other cases, you see all these form of infractions from the voting system to transmission of result to announcement of result. You all see a lot of crimes being committed. And the absence of an enabling law to deal with these myriads of offenses necessitated the need to reform the electoral law to include that. The third aspect of this has to do with the way the need to introduce technology in our electoral system. Technology will speed the process and make it impossible for politicians, electoral officials, and the general public to manipulate figures. So all these things put into perspective necessitated the need to reform our electoral law. In the past, Committees have been established, from Waste Committee to other committees you have, all aimed at Ken Namani to reform the electoral laws, and also let us have an election where the products are morally fit for that positions. But the problem we have been having consistently is that we talk more than we act. Many governments are afraid, in the past, are afraid of implementing recommendations of Electoral Reforms Committee, even the ones which they set up, because they see it as suicidal. The last government of Jonathan tried it, and this is what became of him. He introduced the card reader and all those things here, and it ended up becoming the suicide mission of his administration. So you can see, under this dispensation of President Muhammad Buhari, you can see how the president and his government were dragging their feet in terms of appending his signature for us to have an electoral system. And the reasons for that are very clear, that politicians who are doubtful of the feelings of the people are skeptical of having a credible process that will disgorge them or disestablish them or extirpate them out of power. So this is a summary of what my beliefs and feelings are and views as far as this process is concerned.
Well, distinguished Senator, let us come to the main issue of our conversation this afternoon. President Muhammad Buhari, about 5 weeks ago, said that the All Progressive Congress government is doing so well that it has become attractive to people. And that is why a number of political office holders, politicians from the opposition party are jumping ship and entering to the APC. And just last week, he congratulated two decamping governors, the governor of Cross River State, Ben Ayade, and the governor of Zamfara State, Matawale. And he said to them something very striking to me, that their people will praise them and be proud of them for decamping from the PDP to the APC. I'm worried. I do not want to recount what Comrade Adams Oshomole said as to, if you are a sinner, join APC and your sins are forgiven. But I'm worried by the president's position, even though he's a partisan in the sense that he belongs to the APC. Political party democracy in Nigeria, when the campaign is endorsed and encouraged, are we not doing harm to it?
Thank you again for this question. The president, as a politician, he is partisan. He represents the ruling party, and it's likely he will always use his position to garner support for his party, especially in the face of the challenges, socio-economic, political, and security challenge we face as a country. But there are a lot of reasons why people, they come from party A to B. And it may not necessarily have to do with the fact that they found the party they are decamping to more attractive, or it is performing, or it is doing some magic or wonders in the country. Politicians, especially those holding political offices, they come from party A to B for a number of reasons. One, they may decamp from the opposition to the ruling party simply because they want or need literally what is called protection. By moving away from the opposition to the ruling party, you belong to the ruling political establishment, And as such, whatever atrocity and crime and fraud or corruption you may have perpetrated in office, by belonging to a ruling party, you are most likely to be protected. And secondly, people, they come from the opposition to the ruling party for the fact that they may have been asphyxiated in one party and denied some opportunities and privileges which they need. And as such, they need to move to the ruling party or next party which will offer them such opportunity. The next aspect of it is that pressure. Pressure, threats, or blackmail from the ruling party must have cowed many of them to say they will move from being an opposition to the ruling party. And there are people who have fears of life in opposition after power. What will that portend to them? And as such, they need that ruling party to be able to, when they are done with this term here, there may be an opportunity as a cabinet minister, an ambassador, or any positions that may be available for them. So it is not about the people they represent, or it's not about the future, it is about themselves. And let us not deceive ourselves for the fact that a governor of a state that comes from one party to another does not mean the people of that state are in line with his own thinking, or they align themselves with what he has done. You may be having only the governor of the campaign, while the people of that state are virtually not interested. So it does not reduce the fortune, but there is a psychological effect when a political party loses a high-profile personality to the other. There is that feeling that they are making progress, and it may also have a negative effect on their own opponents. So, but as far as the president is concerned, his own statement more or less must have been encouraging this kind of defection. And he is right to curry or attract people to his own political party. But as a president of a country also, he has an obligation to present, portray, preside over the nation without partisanship and without also exploiting the privileges and the gusto of his power to the disadvantage of other people. So I think it's in order what he is doing if it is outside of power, but we should also be very careful so that we don't have a one-party state. It will not help the country when everyone goes to a ruling party and the opposition is destroyed. But as it has always been, the ruling party will naturally attract as many people as possible. And those people it attracts to itself will be its greatest undoing. Because in the absence of an enemy to fight outside, then there will be enemies within inside to fight. It is implosion that destroyed the ruling PDP at that time in power. And with everyone getting into the ruling party, then now the opposition will be within. Yes.
Distinguished Senator, one of the things driving these two parties, since you and I seem to be agreed that it's not principle and it's not any ideology, is money. The party that has more money willy-nilly wins the election. And the voter has begun to believe that what determines the outcome of an election is the money. How do we do it to make the Nigerian voter begin to listen and get convinced of what a party stands for And what it cannot achieve today, it can achieve tomorrow. And the thing is that, let me please use myself as an example. It would be bad for me to say it on air, but it is true. I was a member of the PRP. My wife in my house belonged to Zig's APP. I think that was what it was called.
NPP.
NPP.
Yes.
And I used to teach her what Aminu Kano stood for even before independence, and why I was convinced that lifting the people from ignorance and poverty was more important than billions. I understood what I was going for. When will it be possible for a political party to convince the voter on the need to follow a set of not just values, expectations that it can be realized with time, instead of just saying, I want to vote for Big so that they can win election tomorrow, and I belong to the ruling party? What do we do? What did the political parties do? What do you, the politicians, do to realize that?
Well, first, the Communist Party of China has just celebrated its 100 years of existence. And you can see that the Republican and the Democratic Party of the United States are almost close to 2 centuries. And you have the Conservative Party of Britain, the Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the UK. These are parties that have been there for time immemorial. Well, in our own history, we never had the privilege and the opportunity of having a very long period of one party surviving our own journey in history because of the intervention of military and other things. But from what you said to what is available now, in the Second and First Republic, when you say Aminu Kano is the leader of the party, you know what he stands for. When you say this is Nnamdi Azikiwe of MPP, you know what he stands for. When you say this is Chief Obafemi Awolowo of UPN, you know what he stands for. When you say Waziri Ibrahim of GNPP, you know what he stands for. When you say Tunji Braithwaite of NAP, you know what he stands for. That's Second Republic. In the First Republic, when you say Sardauna of Sokoto, of the MPC, you know what he stands for. When you say Chief Awolowo of Action Group, you know what he stands for. When you say Nnamdi Azikiwe of NCNC, you know what he stands for. Now, in this republic, what do the leaders of the party stand for? If I may ask you that question.
Today.
That is it. The leaders of the party from 1999 were nominees or agents or lackeys or satraps or satellites of a certain political power. You say, I made the chairman of that party. You cannot say that in First and Second Republic. So, because if they made him the chairman, they can also unmake him the chairman. So chairman of political parties in this republic from 1999 were ambassadors of a certain political bloc or political godfather. And as such, their allegiance, their loyalty, their existence, and their being is aligned with that godfather. So how can you have political ideology and principles when already the leadership of that party is a nominee of somebody? Now, when you take the Communist Party of China or the Conservative Party of UK or the Democratic or Republican Party, you see them having institutes where people are groomed to be Democrats, groomed to be Republicans, groomed to be Marxists. Now they are ideologically indoctrinated, streamlined to participate and lead a country in the future in line with the principles of their party. Now, we don't have that. Parties in Nigeria today are vehicles that lead you from point A to power. Simply, that is what it's all about. So in this respect, I believe that our democracy will work well if we strengthen our political parties in line with what they need to do. And again, not even going far. They will tell you that that the governor is the leader of the party. So if the governor is the leader of the party in a state, what becomes of the chairman of the party? And what if there is a problem between the governor and any member of that party? Who is going to bring the governor to justice? It's even reached a point now, in a party you are not allowed to criticize the governor or to criticize the president. If you do it, you will earn suspension. So you see the way parties are. Most parties in Nigeria, ruling parties, are owned by state governors. They decide who becomes the exco of the party. They decide who becomes the commissioner. They decide where the party office should be located and who should be suspended, who should be removed. So it's an exclusive preserve. You can't join any political party if you are not ready to go and kneel down before the governor of your state. So where is the party?
Distinguished Senator, you may now know why I asked this question. Pardon me. I purposely brought it in so that you can address something that makes me to wonder. In 1984, this current president, President Muhammad Buhari, refused to touch the IMF loan, World Bank loan. Refused. Before him, President Shehu Shagari, let me draw your attention to a conversation I had with, God bless his soul, Uba Ahmed of MPN. And he schooled me on why the MPN refused to accept loans from either the IMF or the World Bank, even when Nigeria's economy was tottering. As a principle, as a political, philosophical principle of MPN, the previous president wouldn't touch IMF loan, wouldn't touch World Bank loan in 1984, until he was toppled and former military president Muhammad Buhari decided to accept it. Why ask you about principle of political party? Right now, this president is collecting loans with both hands. Is it because his party has convinced him out of his own principle? Or is it because he has grown into realizing that there's a need to run the national economy with loans in both hands? Or has Buhari changed? Is he consistent in that principle, or is it the party that has changed him?
There are two questions we have made here. One is about the person of the president, and the second is about loans. You see, people change, many people change when they find themselves in the position of power. For the fact that, one, is that they found themselves having forced to associate with people whom they don't share the same ideological principles and direction. Secondly, it could be the law and privileges of office that has intoxicated them to think differently from the way they used to think when they were not in power. The third has to do with the fact that they have decided to have cut themselves from the reality of the society, and they now think within the prism of power. and as such, their views are narrow, are myopic, and are within the peripheral of the people around them. So these are some of the things. Many people wonder whether this was the firebrand, radical, left-leaning, nationalistic, and patriotic President Buhari that is now in the position of power. Whether it was the same person they used to know. The Buhari before power was a Buhari that will ally himself with Gani Fawahimi, with Bekor and Sakuti, with Wole Shrinka, with Femi Falana, with the likes of Sheikh Husani, and with the likes of Balari Musa, Colonel Umar, and other leftist radicals. The Muhammad Buhari, who was there before power, was the one that would align himself with the Mike Ahamba, with the Buba Galadima, with Dembo, with Tam Debur West. Now, what has happened to the Buhari that we know? One that we can call, one that I used to call, and we used to converse on the ills of Nigerian society, on the bourgeoisie class, and how they work in to destroy Nigeria. What becomes of that Buhari that has become a new person now? Well, it is something which he will likely come to realize how cut off he was from himself for 8 years by the time he's out of power. Many of those who were with him in the trenches, who fought the battle for almost 1.5 decades, are virtually aggrieved that he has left old friends for new friends. The Buhari we used to know was the one that will pick up his phone and call you if he has not heard of you for a week or two. The Buhari we used to know was a Buhari that will attend to anything that aligns with nationalistic, radical point of view. But what do we have today? There are a number of things which he said yesterday and which you find him doing it today. For example, issue of subsidy. He was on video clip as a politician, as a candidate, questioning the reality of, questioning the subsidy fraud. But he is here, subsidizing. The Buhari that leads protest now questions why people should protest. The Buhari that will criticize and oppose governments when they are wrong is now feeling jittery with people who are critical and also holding government to account. The Buhari that is a vanguard of struggle for fundamental human rights and the right to freedom of expression, and he always attends meetings being invited by radical groups and socialist organizations in Lagos and everywhere, in parts of the country, is now virtually so distant from them. So people will naturally wonder, how will the same Buhari that is opposed to loans is now leading a government that has borrowed more than anyone in the history, any previous government in the history of Nigeria? I can understand the issue of IMF loan. The difference between IMF loan and Chinese loan is that IMF loan comes with a lot of conditions. One, before they give you their money, they will come with a tablet of reforms, or templates of reforms, which you need to do for you to be able to dip your hands in their own purse. You must devalue your currency. You must remove subsidy. You must retrench workers to reduce redundancy. You must have credible democratic reforms where they can easily align themselves with you. But Chinese loan comes with no condition. You go and sit down with them. The only conditions they felt is that they should set conditions for you on how you pay them their money. And they don't want to dictate to you to devalue your currency or to remove your subsidy or to do whatever you want to do with it. And when they give you the loan, they will also not compel you that this is what you want to do. You must do with it. All they want is their loans to be repaid. So that is why you see IMF loan is now not attractive to many countries in Africa. They go to China to get loans to build railways, roads, housing projects, and all those things here. But in the last forum I attended, invited by the Chinese embassy, one of the issues I raised was that China should help us so that our leaders in Africa shouldn't pile up debts that will be impossible for our children and grandchildren to pay. So Buhari now, that is opposed to loan, has found himself in a company of people who are in support of piles of loan. The Buhari that is opposed to subsidy has now found himself in the company of people who are for subsidy. The Buhari who is for freedom of expression, support of fundamental rights, and protest have found himself in the midst of people who are opposed to all these ideals and ideas of freedom and justice. So this is what we have. And one of the mistakes you will make is to believe that it is only people that are around you that will tell you the truth. A leader should have the ability, the capacity, and the accessibility of reaching out to people outside of his own political party, outside of his own power, outside of the corridors of power. Because people who are around the president will protect that environment for themselves. And anyone coming with ideas, with truths, with suggestions and advice, they feel threatened. So naturally, a president, if he's not careful, he will end up being caged in a box and prevented from knowing the reality outside of his own palace. So this is the situation in which we find ourselves.
Well, that's our package for this Sunday. Don't forget that this is a Sunday rendezvous. Let's meet same time next week. My name remains Mwabuz Njoko. Good afternoon.
My people, welcome. Una don try as una dey with us for the season 2 of corruption tori, where we don gree say we no go carry hand up for the matter of corruption. Lie. In fact, sef, we don tie our canvas, squeeze bet enter belle, ready to fight till we end corruption patapata for this country before e chop and finish. E dey sweet my belle to tell una now say we and all the other stakeholders for this corruption matter we no stand alone. The Musa Yar'Adua Foundation don carry their war cloth join this fight against corruption. The center don even yarn say if we government no gree make Nigerians fit to yarn freely against corruption, make them fit to challenge am when they see am for different places as corruption dey happen. Then this war against corruption e go get as e be o, and we fit no win. For the one-day event wey dem hold for Abuja, e never too tey, the Yar'Adua Foundation carry civil societies dem join body with the media news people, make them fit to chook eye on top how the choking mouth of government when e come to the matter of not to let people fit talk freely dey affect this war wey we dey do against corruption. The director for the public initiative of the Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, Amara Nwakpa, yarn say plenty country people dey fear to stand, ask wetin government dey do ho-ha, sake of to yarn up like that fit to cause wahala for them wey dem fit abuse their right. Something fit happen with police wey go lead to death sef, or other security agencies fit come brush them enter hospital. Dem fit even arrest them as activists or journalists sef.
For the matter of accountability and fighting corruption in Nigeria, one of the things where they want to encourage for Nigeria be say make civil society organizations they speak up, whether they mobilize citizens, they encourage them to they demand accountability, maybe they ask for accountability from their leaders and from their government. So now that kind of support we receive from MacArthur Foundation. We don't see say for over the past few years where we did for this Nigeria, they had small for citizens to they demand accountability. People will come out to protest, for instance. Sometimes if they say police go jam them for road, they use gun, live bullets, some people they die, human rights abuses they happen. Even people will be journalists where they write stories, where they call out corruption. Sometimes they arrest them, they carry them go court, they arrest activists. So different kind of things they happen for people where they demand accountability for this country. So for that reason, we call this conversation to look at how we ourselves, where we be pro-accountability actors, how would they survive for this environment, how we will continue to do our work, because this accountability work still dey important, even though say it don't hard small, say it dey difficult, say sometimes it even they cause people they die. But it is still important to continue to fight, continue to demand, say government go be accountable to us, say government go continue to they give account to citizens, say the things where government suppose they do, they still they do them.
Nwakpa yarn say make everybody join hand, make civil society sabi the one thing wey dem suppose do. He say to fight this corruption well, all these security agencies and anti-graft agencies wey no be government get them, go gas check everywhere, plus including all the agencies and parastatals. Nobody dey sacred wey dem no go fit to touch.
If you get rat problem for house where you put sniper, go kill not be one, you go kill plenty. Some go die for roof, some go die under this thing, some go die under the fridge, plenty. You have to take time to find all of them, comot them for the smell to come out for your house. And the same problem we face for Nigeria. So no be just only one thing where we supposed to do. You get plenty things where we supposed to do for Nigeria to address this accountability issue. One, be say we must protect civic space. Say civic space must dey, because now for inside civic space now we dey demand accountability. Two, we must galvanize ourselves as civil society. No be only one person suppose they talk. All of us suppose they talk. Where we go they talk for a united way, in a united manner. Three, we must collaborate. No be say one person they go this way, another person they go the other way. Sometimes we come together, plan, agree, work together to achieve the same purpose.
The executive secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Ojukwu, yarn put say to stop citizens make them no talk wetin dey their mind or ask question or expose any kind mago for we system no go let we society dey healthy at all. E con kuku yarn government make dem no dey vex when dem open secret expose corrupt people. E say na the work of country people to even expose all this corruption sef when dem see am. Ojukwu yarn say anytime wey country people dey follow ask make government dey accountable to them, e mean say dem dey even dey help the security agencies and the country go better fast.
It's very important that all of us where they do this work must make sure that no matter all the efforts to stop us, we will still do the work we're supposed to do. Because everybody gets their own work. Everybody gets their own work. The people where they for government, they get their own work. Civil society also get their own work. Let nobody stop the other from doing their own work. It is when everybody does his work that will have a good effect. People waiting for government, maybe they know the verse say people talk their own. Because when you allow people to talk their own, it is like feedback. Any person when they listen to feedback, you know go feed govern well. When you get feedback, not all of them you go like. Some of them you go like, some of them you no go like. But how you know a good leader is you put together the feedback and use it to improve what you are doing. Not be everybody go there for parliament. Not be everybody go there for government house. If you don't go listen to people where they outside, how you go hear their own?
Country Director for Action Aid, Ene Obi, took mouth to say both the executive and the judiciary part of the government, then they inside this corruption matter. Now why they had more to fight this corruption of it?
Corruption is one of the cancer in Nigeria. You know the kind of corrupt leaders that we have had, and many of them are still in the system, and the issue of sanctions are not meted to them. Many cases are in court with EFCC, with ICPC and so on, and people are not being brought to book the way they should. So the judiciary is involved, the government itself is involved, and then, you know, the people are the citizens to hold government to account. We need to take that forward.
Ene will be weak for this matter of say the freedom of country people to fit express wetin dem see or wetin dey their mind. This freedom to ask government question on citizen matter and corruption, e don dey reduce more every day. She say Nigerians no fit even protest for street or face the government on top corruption issues, and other country palava make dem no go collect bullet for body or chop correct beating with tear gas on top, or even go sleep for some days for inside police station.
During the military, we challenged the military to bring back democracy to Nigeria. Now democracy is here, and under a democratic rule, we are unable to engage effectively with the government, that people are being arrested, people cannot go on the streets anymore. It wasn't like this, even with the military. So we need to hear the voices, and inclusion of those voices means that all stakeholders need to be called on board. And people should have the right to freedom. We need to go back to the days that when we are demonstrating, the police is even working on the sides, because you have the right.
The Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, they join body with other agencies and organizations when no be government get them to fight corruption and to ask for accountability from government hand. The foundation, they get support from the Makato Foundation to help the government of Nigeria for this fight against corruption.
This a corruption theory.
Them they talk say if people won't fight to quench fire for ship, make ship for no sink, all hands must touch deck to work put. Yar'Adua Foundation and Makato Foundation don't charter more hands to put for the deck of the fight against corruption, because corruption na big fire where they sink the ship of Nigeria if we know they careful.
Advise Nigerians that if they want to continue to have a country of their own, they must take charge of that country and determine the future of that country, and that would be really democracy.
A situation where people do things with impunity and say nothing will happen will never improve our society. But if everybody who is corrupt is made to account, And more importantly, I would want the anti-corruption agencies to do more of preventing people even to get corrupt. You know, because we are 200 million Nigerians. How many people are you going to chase to catch them? But if you make it impossible for them even to be corrupt, is that not easier?
So how can we do that?
No, you put measures in place. You plug the loopholes for corruption. You know, you make it difficult for, you make sure that the processes that will prevent corruption are tightened.
As we dey thank them, we see the hope, say fast, Nigeria go fit to win this war. Now we package for today on top corruption tori be this. Till we carry come again next week. My people, abeg make una dey jeje o. My name na Ufoma Eguria say. Una bye o.